I just want to go ahead and give you all the meat and potatoes of this video that I'm doing today. Passport.gov. I know you don't know what it is. Let me see if I can help you out with what's coming in the future. You see, Donald Trump's birthday is very important date, and he did this by design. There's things that are happening on his birthday that you have no clue. That's why he's so happy.
Is PASSPORT.GOV an official authorized U.S. Department of State website?
Let me double check.
Are you guys aware that PASSPORT.GOV exists and it's registered to the Executive Office of the President?
That is very interesting.
The idea Doge has made its way through all the agencies. Not just one agency, not just one website. All the websites, all the agencies, all of the digital touch points between the U.S. government and the American people.
It carries your name, your face, your social security number, your place of birth, all of it serving proof that you are in fact an American, and all of it signed and stamped onto a single piece of paper that gets processed by one single office. The State Department. They are the only ones in the federal government who are actually allowed to issue you one, and the data behind it sits inside the State Department walls, protected by some of the strongest privacy laws this country has. And so when I found a website called passports.gov, not attached to the State Department at all, in fact, but instead attached to the Executive Office of the President of the United States and built by National Design Studio, needless to say, I got a little bit concerned. In August of last year, Donald Trump signed an executive order called America by Design, and under it, he created a brand new federal office called the National Design Studio. Their chief design officer is Joe Gebbia, and he's the former co-founder of Airbnb, and it is staffed with people who used to work for the critically acclaimed Doge, which, lest we forget, got sued in federal court for letting outside parties unlawfully access federal personal data. So yes, National Design Studio, NDS, is basically Doge 2.0. And the deeper I get into this investigation, the more I firmly believe that the National Design Studio is building a parallel federal government inside the executive branch.
Now, I've been trying to explain to everybody about the freelance government. People call it other names, deep state, whatever. But I've been doing this for about 3 years now because after COVID, here we go again. For all of y'all that have already seen this, I apologize. But after COVID, we noticed a big trend of all the billionaires buying up land. We noticed a big trend with people investing in nuclear fusion, investing in small nuclear reactors. Then Bill Gates bought the big reactor. Then Honduras happened. That's when Prospera took over a portion of land in Honduras because of the corrupt previous president that they have. And I explained to everyone that the whole ball of wax that has been rolling and getting bigger and bigger under the Trump administration is geared towards allowing the billionaires to basically buy America. And they're all building the cities. I've told you all this previously because we've seen how California Forever and there's other what I call freelance government states. That's when they operate inside a country, a whole new set of laws just for that city. So here's the situation, realizing what I was talking about. Francesca from The Bituation, that is a podcast by a comedian, and she definitely hit the nail on the head maybe about a year ago, and she started to realize that all this Iran-Israeli, immigration, which is going to be used as workers because they are not sending those people back. Have you noticed? And she recognized that also, and she said that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump has finally jumped on the bandwagon with trying to build their own private city. Prospera in Honduras, Jared Kushner is connected to the backers because that place is home to Delaware. That's where all the oligarchs put their money into this company, Prospera, to take over a portion of Honduras. And there are about 10 other cities that I found way back in 2022 that was doing this. The first one I found here was California Forever. You can look that up. And that's when Trump took away all the soybeans that was being sold to China from his tariff war so the billionaires could buy the soybean land on pennies on the dollar. But first, they had to institute Elon to change the regulations for the agriculture so that they would be able to buy that land because it was allocated for soybean sales. Now, let's hear what Francesca had to say.
She's not talking about wanting to live on the beach. She's not talking about wanting to live in nature. Nay, that is not what this project in Albania is about. Like I said, she already has beachfront property. She has already got access to all the nature or all the destruction. She is talking about what the far right and the billionaires and oligarchs have wanted to do, which is create privatized cities. And they set their sights on Albania. And there's a few reasons for that. And actually, this show, me and my crew have talked about this issue before. We have done this exact topic. Why? Because Albania, and specifically this island, is being seen as a little bit of a dry run for what? What could become of Gaza.
Now you can go to her channel and watch that whole. You can go to her channel and watch that whole podcast. I suggest that you do. Let's get back to why this passport situation is going to affect everybody in America. If Trump, if people like Democracy Doctrine and Democracy Forward don't grab a hold of this now and stop it, it's going to be hell. So it's not just me. We all see what's happening with the Doge that has now been renamed. We see what's happening with the immigration because these cities are going to need free workers. And that's why they filed to be able to pay these immigrants $1 a day. When did that happen? Way before Trump even became the president. The filing was made. It was solidified maybe a month after he was president. Now, I'm not saying that they're saying they're going to pay him $1 a day. But this whole business about shipping everyone out of the country, I told y'all, that was never going to happen. It has never happened on any country. They keep them as slaves. Now, we're not going to call them slaves. This is new imperialism, you see. So they're going to have special visas, special work visas, and never leave the state. And claim that they're going to be eventually regular citizens. That's what's going to happen. The other part of this is that it's not just for immigrants. ICE is not just for immigrants. That's why they need bigger and more facilities. Let's face it, they've rounded up just about everybody they can round up. They're picking that, little meaningless people right now, right? So we have to think of a way to keep this business going. And that's where we get into the, doing away with the free speech and, what is considered a tax on the government. So you have somebody like Todd Blanche that's going to be trying to move all this forward because they're all going to jail in the end, or they're going to flip on other people and try and get their sentences commuted or immunity. We're still trying to get people like Mark Meadows. This has been going on for almost 4 years now, 5 years. We're still coming to that head. All the fake electors, they're back on the chopping block. Trump tried to get rid of it. Trump is definitely back on the chopping block. But I just want to let you know what's happening right now. All of that is past, and it's coming to fruition slowly but surely. So you want to take a look at this. This is what I've been talking about. It is a lot of different arms of this deep state. But listen to this.
Running on private infrastructure operated by the same people who got caught giving outside parties access to that federal data last time around. So I'm a bit concerned all around. And the scope of what National Design Studio seems to be doing is quite overwhelming. I mean, I am up north of 50 different .gov websites that I have found that were all built by NDS, and all of them being registered to the Executive Office of the President.
She's just said 50 different websites that was built by this organization that is listed as an organization of the Trump administration, but it is not a government organization. This is something they just made up to get your information, because once the Save America Act passed and people got to rush and go get passports as they began to say, hey, you need this ID, you need this passport. This is the fake sites they've set up. I call them fake. They're very much real, but they're not the authentic. Only the state can issue you a passport, not some, sideshow by Donald Trump that has been created in order to get your information.
Instead of the federal agencies whose names are on them. And look, I'm still unpacking a lot of it, but for tonight, I would like to dive into two specific pieces. The first one is PASSPORT.GOV. And the second is its sidekick, a federal website called Login.gov, which is a system that the federal government uses that basically verifies who you say you are. In fact, Login.gov got a pretty concerning feature over the last 60 days, and it's that feature that lets outside systems verify Americans without actually letting those Americans even be in the same room.
Verify Americans without you even knowing that they have your information, without you even knowing that you may be considered a non-citizen according to what they deem a non-citizen. So if you're employers, or if you're going to, vote, what I'm saying, anything that you need, and they want to check on this website, be who you are, you might get eyes called on you because what they labeled you as.
Anywho, so let's start with this federal website that I found, PASSPORT.GOV, which, by the way, is not a federal website, at least not in the way that we're used to. It's not registered to the State Department. It is registered to the White House, the executive branch. And you'll notice that when you type PASSPORT.GOV in on a computer, it'll redirect you straight to a sign-in gate called auth.passports.gov.
That looks like the most generic page I've ever seen in my life. Wow. That's a sign-in page.
So let's pull it up. When you look at the page, you'll see the single white blank page and this one email field and a button that says send code. And you'll notice that this looks nothing like a regular government website, right? There's no State Department seal, no agency name, no privacy notices at the bottom, no FOIA requests, no this is a government website, here's how you tell signs, like nothing. So I decided to go back to the certificate records to see if maybe there was something I was missing, which, by the way, those are public logs that have a list of every subpage that a website sets up behind the scenes, like the ones that you never get to see from the front end. And what I noticed was that there were 3 separate subpages that were set up and existed just for photos alone, which is extremely odd because a sign-in page doesn't need a photo server, let alone 3, because that's not what logging in looks like. So what do you need the 3 photo servers for? I mean, that is the shape of something that is built to collect face photos in bulk, it seems. As a matter of fact, there are 2 of them, PASSPORT.GOV without the S and PASSPORTS.gov with the.
Remember, these are not official state certified sites. So they're just gathering your information. They're just acting like they're a real passport information place. And they're just gathering your information, all under the request of Doge, the request of the president. Now I ask you, for what? For what? You know for what. This is a surveillance tactic, and it's going to be used later against you, or maybe if you're a Trump supporter, for you.
And honestly, it's that ownership that's the whole thing, right? I mean, a federal site owned by a normal agency falls under the Privacy Act, for example. You can FOIA it, an inspector general audits it, and there's this public list of who's allowed to see your data. Meanwhile, a site that's owned by the executive office of the president can instead fall under something that's called Presidential Records Law, which can seal these records for years, maybe up until 2040 with no inspector general. And sealing records like that cuts only one way, doesn't it? It locks the records away from the public, the press, and the courts. But the data still gets to live somewhere, and where it lives is on private infrastructure. And so the idea that all of these contractors and private companies would have access potentially to my data, but I wouldn't, is alarming to me.
So we have an entity that is protected under the president that is gathering our information and giving it to God knows who, and you are not allowed to look and see who, what, and why. Something's got to change there. But I'm letting everyone know that this is going to happen very, very soon, where you're looking at yourself like, did I get on that site and give them all my information? Because that's exactly what you're doing, especially if the SAVE Act, follows through completely with what I believe is going to happen. And certain states are going to adapt this to say, hey, you need this particular idea. Hey, go to PASSPORT.GOV. That's the easiest way to do it. Watch what I'm telling you.
Yeah, so the State Department does not claim this website. And we need to sit with what that means for a second here. Because what do you mean the one office in the entire government that is legally allowed to issue you a passport just told me on the phone that site is not theirs, and they sounded like they didn't even know it existed? Honestly, I think a lot of these agencies have no idea that this is happening to them, which is exactly why this whole week I've been spending time calling every other duplicate site's federal agency to ask them the same question, and everybody's coming up blank as of right now. And that's very concerning on a whole other level, but it also shows you what these guys have been up to.